you have returned. This is good. Not all is well in the metro. Hey guys, it's Ty from the Gaming Helm, and today what we're going to do is take a look at a character very famous in the Metro series, both in the games and the novels. We're talking about everyone's favorite father-in-law, Colonel Miller, and his part in Duplicity in the big conspiracy surrounding Metro's dirty little secret. Let's get into this one. So, the game starts off, just like in the novel, a year after the war for D6, where the Rangers got brutalized but ultimately came out the victors against the communist Red Line. However, Miller, he is broken, both literally and metaphorically, mentally and physically. He has a set of prosthetic robot legs, and he's racking up some serious PTSD. I mean, at the end of the day, you can only take so much. Not to mention, since the war for D6, his now son-in-law, Artyom, the hero of the Metro, married his daughter, Anna, and let's just say he's got some mixed feelings about that. Artyom, shortly after the war for D6, there's not much information if this is deliberately by accident or how this even really happened, but one day when he was on the surface of Moscow, he snagged, probably by accident, a radio signal coming from outside of Moscow. And that's supposed to be impossible. Everyone in the Metro was told by the brass, the authority, that they're it. They're the last humans on the planet. Naturally, this serves as to become an obsession for Artyom. And eventually, he starts getting sick from overexposure, radiation sickness, a couple of close calls with the mutants on the surface and in the tunnels. Naturally, this is starting to cause a lot of tension both in his marriage and his responsibility as a serving and active ranger with the Order. The Rangers are still at large, doing their thing, but they're reduced in number and they need every able body to, get the job done. Keep, policing the other factions to make sure things don't get out of control. Of course, Artyom doesn't listen. He's already just fresh out of his guilt trip with what he did to the Dark Ones. Now, he's got a new crazy to follow. Eventually, he does convince Anna to join him in a patrol on the surface, hoping to prove to her that yes, there are signals coming into Moscow from the outside. He wants to prove that he's not paranoid, he's not crazy, he knows what he heard. Now, although she's skeptic, she is supportive, so she decides to join him on the surface, and at the end of the day, she's still a dead-eye shot sniper. It'd be a good idea to give him some backup. She's a ranger too, after all. She can hold her own in a firefight if need be. They do stumble across something that they did not expect, a fully functional and active train, which no one saw coming. Naturally, this excites them, and then a few seconds later, they're picked up by a Hansa patrol. They're rounded up, thrown very aggressively into a van with a couple of civilians who claim to be from outside of Moscow, from a small village just on the outskirts. It proves that he was right, that the world did survive, that nothing has ended, that life does go on. However, the twist is Hansa, execute the two civilians. When RTM tries to save them, they even shoot him. And they drop all three of these poor bastards into a literal death trench where they have been stacking bodies for years. There must be at least over 100 skeletons of people that Hansa has killed to keep this dirty secret alive. Anna, because they know who she is, she's the daughter of the Colonel Miller, perfect bargaining chip, they decide to take her prisoner and not kill her. Right into the same train depot, right where they dropped Artyom. A little bit on the convenience side from storytelling perspective, but whatever. We're gonna give this a pass. You know, they gotta keep the pacing going. The RTM rescues Anna, picks up a new buddy, the chief engineer of this train. They shoot their way out just before they make their escape successfully. Colonel Miller, along with a squad of rangers who happen to know Artyom really well, they look up to him as a hero because his reputation is well earned. And sure enough, Anna blurts out, "Guys, it's us. Don't do it. Don't shoot." The squad, your boys, they side with you. The two Hansa soldiers that are part of this little kill team, they warn them, "Miller, if you do this, you're dead. Your boys, your squad, your son-in-law, your daughter, you're all dead unless you cooperate right now." Miller, he does the right thing and sides with Artyom and Anna. He's not about to kill his own daughter. Everyone's a little bit suspicious why these two Hansa soldiers are talking like they can tell him what to do. And that's when he drops the bomb.
The war did not end.
What do you mean, did not end?
Let me finish. Most of our cities are destroyed. The rest of the country is probably under enemy occupation. To avoid new nuclear attacks against us, Command chose the only viable course of action: to play dead. To ensure radio silence, the SHIELD system was created. A network of radio jammers covering Moscow and suburbs. No! I only got briefed half year ago. Under a strict "you talk, you die" policy.
He is complicit in this. He knew that there were survivors outside of Moscow wandering in, and he is literally a part of this conspiracy to keep everything quiet. You see Hansa under the direct orders of Metro 2, a hidden bunker underneath the old metro system, run by what is called the Invisible Watchers, who are literally what's left of the Russian government. This pisses Anna right off. She is shocked and appalled that Miller would do this. As the game goes on, he finds out for himself there are no occupations forces. The Invisible Watchers, they were lying. Everything they were told, everything he was told and led to believe, it was all just bullshit. This crushes him. He literally committed these evil acts, and it was all for nothing. By the end of the game, Anna becomes really sick. She fell into an ammo bunker filled with toxic waste, was rendered unconscious, her mask fell off, and she ended up breathing in a lethal dose of radiation. As the game progresses, they tease it here and there with her little coughing fits, but eventually she starts spitting up blood, and she has to acknowledge that she is dying. Her organs, her lungs in particular, are fried from radiation sickness. She doesn't have much time left. So RTM and Miller, with the rest of the crew of their train, which is named the Aurora, have no choice but to look for the only place they know in all of Russia that has a cure, and that is Novosibirsk, the Dead City. They call it that because Novosibirsk has 8 times higher radiation than Moscow. Even with an appropriate hazmat suit with all the lead lining you can think of, all the appropriate protection, staying on the surface for longer than just a couple of minutes is straight up death sentence. Miller and RTM, they are going to go into the city looking for a cure for Anna, while the rest of the squad, they're going to infiltrate a train museum hoping to get an attachment for the Aurora to plow through snow and ice when the winter really hits. That way the train can keep rolling. The objective is simple: find a hospital or somewhere that might have this cure. As the Miller and RTM work their way through the Dead City, they're forced to go underground fast. The Dead City did have a very similarly built metro system, and while Miller and RTM are working their way through said metro system, they stumble across the city's sole survivor, a young boy who identifies himself as Private Kirill Kolesnikov. who happens to be the son of a Lieutenant Colonel Kolesnikov, who's in charge of security for the Metro. The boy explains that there was a civil war between the civilian and military populations. Everyone killed everyone else, and he and his father were the only ones left. Unfortunately, the boy last saw his father a month earlier as he went out to secure satellite surveillance imagery to locate a possible site to leave the dead city and to set up shop somewhere else safe, away from radiation exposure. So Miller suggests that they split up. Colonel Miller, he goes after the satellite imagery, while Artyom goes to the hospital to find a cure for Anna. And before they depart, the little boy, Kirill, he gives Artyom and Miller one shot of the quote-unquote green stuff, an experimental but very effective anti-radiation drug that'll help keep them alive if they spend too long on the surface. Throughout their adventures, yes, Colonel finds the satellite images, and it, bickety boom, the perfect spot for the team of the Aurora to set up and live happy in a radiation-free environment, far away from people and war, and hopefully live the rest of their lives in peace. However, Artyom, struggling to survive, running across brand new kinds of monsters and all kinds of weird paranormal activity going through this hospital, he narrowly locks down a suitcase loaded with the cure for Anna, but he gets brutally injured. He's nearly killed and rendered unconscious on the surface for an undisclosed amount of time. He's overexposed to radiation, and he breaks his vial filled with the green stuff. He loses his shot. He can't cure himself. Miller eventually discovers Artyom's unconscious form, and Miller decides to selflessly sacrifice himself by giving Artyom his shot. That way he can save the life of his son-in-law, who he at long last accepts as a son. Colonel Miller loads up Artyom's unconscious form onto the van, and he drives him out of the dead city, but unfortunately, due to overexposure radiation, he loses consciousness and dies in his sleep. Artyom, he wakes up long enough to drive the van filled with him, the dead body of the colonel, as well as the young boy Kirill, out of the dead city, and they rendezvous with the crew of the Aurora. Artyom is able to save Anna's life. Yeah, they find their little happily ever after, the last little slice of heaven they can set up and just ride out the rest of their lives, hopefully in peace. And the colonel knew very well that he could have saved Anna without Artyom, but he made the choice. He wanted to redeem himself for all the acts that he committed in Metro. He thought he was being a good soldier, but he was just being lied to and manipulated. He knew for a fact, yes, he was hurting people, but he thought he was doing it for the right reasons. He had no idea he was being lied to. So I think he knew, yes, this shot is going to save his son-in-law, but it will ultimately lead to him dying. But he chose to sacrifice himself to redeem himself. And honestly, it was a very touching scene. He did the right thing in the end. He redeemed himself. In my eyes, I truly believe that he made the right decision. It was a tough call. Artyom, depending on the good or bad ending, will survive. If you get the good ending, he lives, and I think that's the canon ending. Anna survives. The drug works. It saves her life. So, yep, sleep well, old soldier. You've earned it. You all have yourself a great day. Thanks a lot for tuning into this episode of The Gaming Home, and we'll see you soon.
Yep, we're back. It's good to be back.